In this video I will use some of my woodworking jigs and machines, and I will make a lot of sawdust. First I cut in two some of the strips I got when I reclaimed the old door's wood. I have to set the fence so that the half in the outside part of the disc is slightly thicker than the part between the disc and the fence. Like this, now I can cut that thicker part so both parts are identical. Okay, maybe I should keep my hands further away from the disc. When cutting, I didn't realize my hand was so near the blade. This part is very wide, but this pruning saw fits inside the curve, so I can use it to finish cutting this piece in two. I also tried to cut it using a woodworking handsaw, but this pruning saw cuts faster. Now I use a hand plane, because the part I've cut with the pruning saw is thicker than the parts I've cut with the table saw. And now I can use my thickness planer to plane all the boards. Because the boards are wider than the planer knives, I have to turn the boards so I can plane all the surface of the boards. The problem with this technique is that I usually get marks in the face I plane, so I sand them to get rid of the marks. I cut the end of all the boards I measure and I mark the length I need to cut the boards to, and I cut them. Actually, I cut the wider boards some bigger than the final dimensions of the box I will make. And I will use the finger joint jig to root the finger joints. First, I have to root like this. Now I have that pin there. Then I turn the board like this, so I will also have the pin in the beginning in the same edge of the board. This wood is too dry, and it looks like that helps to cause a lot of splintering. So to avoid the splintering, I will use some painter's tape. The painter's tape works quite well, so I put painter's tape in all the boards, but I only put painter's tape in the back of the boards. If I put some tape in the edge of the boards, the jig could go out of adjustment. Another problem is that this hole is too high for this router bit setting, and that increases splintering. Then I will put there a piece of thin plywood board. Well, this goes like this. I screw it to the jig. Like this, I will root a hole that is exactly as high and as wide as the router bit, and that will help to avoid splintering. And I root the other long side of the box. Now I put there that long side of the box. I put one short side against it, and I root. Now I turn the board so I can route the first socket in this end of the board against the same edge of the board. But first I will put there another piece of thin plywood, so I can rest the board against it when I route. And I also route the other short side of the box. Now I joined the edges of the boards. And I also use the planer to get rid of that thin pin. I want to get rid of that thin pin, and I must also get rid of the corresponding thin socket. So to make sure all the boards will be exactly the same width, I must plane those edges the same number of times. Now I can put some glue in the sockets. And I join all the pieces. I clamp the pieces and I clean the excess of glue. And once the glue was dry, I also glued the top and the base of the box. The top and the base are bigger than the box, so I made them fit flush in one end and in one side. And I use the hand planer to plane the edge of both the top and the base, but I only plane until the edge protrudes something like 1 mm. One end of both the top and the base also protrude, but it would be very difficult to plane them, so I decided to cut them with a handsaw. I just make sure I don't cut flush. It is better to finish them with the sander. And now I use gross grit sandpaper to sand until all the joints and the edges are even with the box sides. Once everything is even, I use a round over router bit to round all the corners. And I use medium grit sandpaper to sand all the box. It is better to sand some corners by hand. So far it looks nice, and it sounds quite well. But I have to cut the top yet. So first I cut the short sides. This strip helps to keep the box vertical when I cut the short sides. Now I cut one long side. And before I cut the other long side, first I must fit in the groove some thin pieces. They must be the same thick of the groove. And I use some painter's tape to close the groove against the thin pieces. Like this I get a perfect cut, and it is an easy way to make the lid of the box. I sand the cut. I sand all the edges with a foam sanding block. I sand the top and the base to eliminate any scratch I can see, and I varnish it. I install a couple of hinges and a couple of locks. And here I have this nice wooden box. If you like this box, don't forget to like the video and to share it. You can find all my woodworking videos in my channel in YouTube. And if you like them, remember that you can subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.